Alrighty, so we are recording. Welcome everybody till tonight's team call. Thank you for joining us, those who decided to tune in. We are talking conscious rapport and building skills for network marketing and the importance of building those skills. Here we go, now we're maximized. So Jennifer's on the line this evening. How you doing, Jennifer?
Good.
Good. So did I hear correctly? You've been tasked with relaying to us the good information from that class?
Yes.
All right. So
It was so long ago that I forgot a lot of it, but I did get her book, and
okay,
so I was going to share stuff from her book
okay.
and my notes. I didn't take really good notes because she was really good at all the stuff she was talking about, so my
Okay.
notes are kind of.
So we'll do that, Jennifer. I'll have you share this evening, and then we'll open up the floor like we usually do, and allow everybody else to chime in and share their thoughts, and open up for any questions as well. So, Jennifer, go ahead and take it away. Go ahead and share your bits and nuggets.
Okay, so Marcella von Harding, I guess she's been around for a long time and she's really she was really inspiring to listen to, and really her thing about conscious rapport for network marketing. In her book, she actually calls it conscious rapport for network thriving, because relationships are so important in the business that we're in. It's about relationships. We've all heard that, and connecting with people. And so she shared a lot about the different ways we communicate. And one of the things, a lot of people, rapport isn't, I don't know, I guess it's not a word we hear a lot. So just the definition of rapport to refresh us all. The Oxford English Dictionary defines it as a close and harmonious relationship in which people or groups concerned understand each other's feelings or ideas and communicate well. So we want to be able to do that. Network thriving is based on relationships. How we communicate with other, it can either empower us to our dreams and outcomes, or it can challenge and disempower us on this journey. So it's really important. It's also about building trust. There's two well-known phrases, which most of us have heard this before, but it's people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And then another one, which there was actually another class that had this title, but facts tell, but stories sell. That was another one that was brought out. And I also was on here at getting ready to go at 5, and then I realized didn't start till 5:30. I was like, oh my gosh, so I had more time to prepare. But there's a part in here about charisma, and it says charisma compounds a leader's influence. With it, leaders draw out the best in their people and give the best of themselves and find the greatest fulfillment. And John C. Maxwell said that. I thought it was interesting that it says most people believe that a person is born with a charismatic personality, when the truth of it is charisma is a skill that can be developed. It's an attractive blend of learnable qualities, and we can increase our charisma quotient by mastering the following qualities. So what she says to do is to listen to everyone. Really charismatic people give equal attention to whomever is speaking, whether it is someone who might be at a lower status or a higher status. Give your full attention, put away your phone, be welcoming and inclusive. Listen more than you speak. When you do speak, think first and choose your words carefully. Do your best to make whatever you say positive. Give praise. Very few people hear enough praise or give enough praise. Get exceptional at praising. Avoid talking about others. Remember, talk to someone instead of about someone else. Let others know that they are important. Have an intention for others to feel valued. Leave your own self-importance out of the interaction. Be humble, own your mistakes, and apologize. focus on giving more than receiving. And we know we all hear that a lot too. There was a fact about what we learn, some percentages. We only hear, we learn 10% of what we read, 20% of what we hear, 30% of what we see, 50% of what we both see and hear, 70% of what's discussed with others, 80% of what we experience personally, and then 95% of what we teach someone else. I thought those were really interesting. She, on her part, she had people come up to the stage, and she talked about mirroring, like someone's sitting with their legs crossed, and then the other person comes and they sit with their legs crossed, mirroring, like imitating what they're doing as like a building rapport that way. And there was a lot brought out too about how people like people who are like them. Let's see. Rapport is power. This is Anthony Robbins' quote. Rapport is power. People like people who are like themselves or who are like they want to be. The quality of our lives is the quality of our communications. People are constantly communicating in their own style. As the saying goes, the more you are like someone, the more you are liked. And like she gave the example of someone that talks fast, they're going to be drawn to someone else that talks fast. Whereas if it's someone that talks really slowly, or like from the South, they would be drawn to someone that talks slowly like that. And I thought that was really interesting and true, but you don't think about stuff like that sometimes. She talked about verbal language pattern, words, tonality, physiology. That was the part about posture and facial expressions, how much that can relate. Body language, that was about the kind of mirroring. And then she had a lot about facial reading, and I didn't take very good notes about that, but she did have some parts in here about that. And I don't know, there was, Tashina sent me the slides from it, which I didn't have access to that, but in her book, I don't know if you guys can see some of these. If I go like that, kind of the examples. So like when you look at someone where their eyebrows are placed, that top one, the low set of eyebrows, she says the very first thing I look at is the eyebrow location. The distance from the height of the eyebrows to the eye. Are the eyebrows low set or high set? When I see that the eyebrows are low set with very little space between the eyebrows and the eyes, I found the person to be very approachable, mentally quick, expressive, a take action, get it done now type of person who can even have a tendency to interrupt others. And then on the opposite of that was the high set eyebrows. That's her example there. So with the high set eyebrows, they and only they decide when and how close they allow people in. So avoid getting too close or in their space. They are discriminating, selective in both thinking and actions. The higher the eyebrows distance from the eyes, the more formal. Important note, she said to let them make the first move. Then she said the second thing she looks at is their forehead. And this facial trait is a thinking style. So on the side profile of someone, she says she's looking to see if the forehead is round and protruding, slopes backwards, or is vertical. The forehead sloping backwards indicates quick mental reactions, quick to think, strong development of memory, very quick to apply learned information or whatever is on hand, an objective thinker. They see all the big picture without needing to get all the details. They will jump to conclusions. That's, you guys can see. That's the slope back forward, or back forehead that we just read about. And then we're going to read about that one, the straight up and down one. You guys can see that. These were on her slides that she put up. So the vertical forehead indicates a logical, step-by-step learner who needs time to examine each step of the process, who is a slower taking in information, sequential thinker, kinesthetic, and feeling person. If I am showing them the business compensation plan, I will slow down the presentation and make sure they understand each step before moving forward. When talking about math, numbers, and chemistry and money, I will validate processes, steps, procedures, check in constantly to make sure they are getting it completely, understanding and comprehending what I am sharing. Kids are upstairs, I can hear them. So that was just I mean, she gets all that just from the shape of their forehead. So like I got the book because I didn't take very good notes, like I said, at convention, and I'm like, wow, you can tell all that from someone's forehead. So that, and then and then there's also, and this is a picture of a baby, so I don't know. They have an adult that has this kind of forehead, but round, full forehead where it protrudes. It says also there are very round and full foreheads too. These facial traits show a very imaginative person, someone who loves to be original, does not like rigid systems, who loves doing anything their own way. And then the third facial trait she said she looks for a first impression is someone's eyelids. And looking at this trait is going to show if a person is analytical or a bottom liner, get to the point, low analytical. This one trait can be profound in how much or how little information you give someone when you first meet them. Looking directly at someone, I can see their eyelids where they have exposed eyelids. They like to get to the point. They need to know just enough information to make a decision. They are matter of fact, to the point, get straight to the heart of the matter. She calls them bottom liner. So that's like her example of exposed lids. You can see the eyelid. I think I have that too, so I must like to get to the point. Okay. Eyelid you cannot see. Eyelid covered with a fold of skin. So there's the other eyelid. Right there. You guys can see that. So it says when we look directly at someone we cannot see, their eyelids, fold of skin covers the eyelid. This is a person who is analytical or needs a lot of information. They need to look at everything, all aspects of something before buying or signing on. I personally give this person a lot of certainty in my presentation to my resourcefulness. I let them know up front that all the questions are welcome, and if I do not know the answer, I will get back with them. I make sure that they have my contact information and if any questions come up after I have left them. So those are the ones covered in this book, and I can't remember exactly if she covered more at the class, but I know at ours she had talked a lot and she was running out of time, and I do remember that she wrapped it up. But she was just very engaging and very one of the other things I had written down on here is interesting stuff. Yeah, it was interesting. She was really a neat speaker, and like I said, I took really brief notes because I was paying so much attention to her. So I was really glad I had this book. And then at first I couldn't find it, and I was like, I can't talk about it without having something to help me. But one of the things she brought out, I thought this was really interesting. She said that like when people go on interviews, that they know in the first 90 seconds of the interview if they're going to get hired or not. I was like, really? I thought that was kind of amazing. What else did she say? Oh, I skipped the part about form, you guys. Let me find, yeah, mirroring, trust, spaced reading. I skipped the part about form. Let me go back and find that. Communication, she also said it's only 7% words, 38% tonality, and 55% physiology. That's why, I don't know, like when you're talking to someone online, it's kind of hard because you miss all that physical, like whether they're happy or sad or, I don't know. I think it's hard. Let me find the form part, you guys, because I'm sorry, guys, if somebody wants to say something. I know I thought I marked it.
You're totally fine, Jen.
Pressure. I
Yeah,
feel
we're not
pressure.
rushing you.
Yeah, she had really great slides, and a lot of the pictures are in this book. Like she had really pretty pictures. I liked her
So,
pictures, but I mean, really,
so really quickly, while you're finding that, so form was that the family, occupation, recreation,
yeah.
and message, correct?
And it was really neat to see it written out because I know I've heard that before, but I could never remember what they all were. And there, it totally explains it in here. Like, and I thought I marked it, but apparently, oh wait, oh here, I found it. Okay, are you ready?
Yep. Go ahead.
Okay, so well, actually, so let me back up. Oh yeah, I totally skipped this part in the beginning. So there were 4 parts of creating a positive first impression. We've all heard that saying. You only have one chance to make a first impression, or something to that effect. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. There, that's how it's officially. So there's 4 parts to it to create a good entry. First one is to enter with confidence and a smile. The second was to approach confidently and at a brisk pace with your head up, shoulders back, and a smile on your face. I think it's interesting that all of these have smile in it. 3 is to connect, a firm handshake and good eye contact. It talks about the note about a handshake to avoid the fish, limp handshake, or the I'm stronger than you hand grip. Intentionally connect, look away from the floor, look up and around at your surroundings. Give them your full attention. Number 4 is your exit, and it's to exit with a smile. How you exit is important because it's the last impression the person has of you before you leave the other's company. Also know how you look from all sides of your body. It might be embarrassing to discover later you look great in the front, but you had mustard on the back of your skirt or slacks. It's kind of funny. And then there was the part about form. So the F stands for friends and family. So are they in a relationship or married, kids, school, animals, where you live, how long, things like that. And then the O is occupation. Employed, self-employed, how long, do you like it, do you dislike it, how did you get started in that field, what else would you like to do, and then the R is recreation, what do you do for fun, music, sports, vacation, time to do it, with whom, and then M, this was the part I actually forgot, M is meet their needs. So what would they choose to change or improve their life, and how to meet their needs best. So that was really good. And it says, done from a place of the heart, the 4 part of the conversation assists you in knowing and understanding the person with whom you are talking, which will help you meet their needs according to their values, which is the ultimate goal. Without creating a relationship and rapport, information is only information. And they have a picture of a handshake. Handshake. So I think that was mostly what I got out of it. Just the importance of that, and like, yeah, the breaking down. I need to try to memorize the facial things more.
So
There is more in here. Oh,
no, go ahead. Finish your thought.
oh, well, I didn't remember it from the thing, but there is more about the like visual, auditory. She gives examples of that in here, kinesthetic, seeing and hearing. But I picked out the parts I liked. So
Okay.
that wasn't very long, was it? Sorry.
No, that's okay. Let's open it up for discussion because I actually found some things that you said that was actually kind of interesting. So when we think of like building rapport with individuals and how it applies specifically to our industry and our business, we have to think about how to get around that feeling. So sometimes we hear people say like, I don't want to be salesy or pitchy or something like that, because we do recognize that we are in business for ourselves. And so we cannot lead with that, right? And people always ask, well, how do I talk to individuals about Young Living? How do I talk to people about the business? And when you get down to the meat of it, when you actually build a rapport with someone, what happens is you actually become the influencer in your circle. And so, Jenny, you touched on some of the good habits to have, and that's asking questions. So that's why that form is so important. Like asking about them and letting them tell you what their needs are, so that by the time you get to M, you're able to make a decision whether you can or cannot meet their needs. Which Young Living has something for everybody, um, but it allows them to come to that decision without necessarily feeling like that has been pushed upon them. So I like that whole idea, because remember that these are people that you want to either have some type of relationship with. So you're either working with them as a customer, you're working with them as a business builder, or you're continuing to educate them. So you want to learn as much about them as possible. You want to have a strong relationship with them so that they don't blow you off when their ER doesn't process because they don't know you that well and you're not that important. So it's very, very important to build that relationship. Does anybody have anything that they wanted to add on that note, kind of? Okay, so let's open up on a different note. Does anyone have anything else that they wanted to add from that?
Yeah, so I thought actually the part about how people actually learn visual, auditory, kinesthetic, and olfactory, gustatory was actually super important, because I actually didn't realize the best way for me to learn, and I've actually tried to like communicate some things to other people, and they've responded to me, oh, but I don't think I can listen to like a 10-minute, 15-minute video. Can't you just tell me? And I'm like, what's wrong with them? Like, what? I'm like, I made the video already so that you can have the information. But they would rather read something. They would rather like look at a blog post. And so that part of it like made it very clear to me. So I actually want to share the 2 slides from her presentation on that, because it goes into it. So I am definitely auditory, which I actually didn't know, because I thought I like books and I like reading, but I actually like listening to audiobooks better. And so like this little slide explains like what words people are going to use when they're visual versus auditory versus kinesthetic or olfactory or gustatory. And then the next slide, if I can go to the next slide, actually shows you when you're talking to someone, how you can tell that they are. So the important part of when we're sharing with people is that when you're sharing with people, then you're going to want to share the visual aspects of certain things, and you're going to want to share things that they can see, pictures and words, whereas auditory, you're going to share more video and things that they can hear. And kinesthetic, you're going to actually want to be with them in person where they can touch, taste, etc. things. So that was something that like I had never heard before and thought was like super cool, because again, it explained to me why when sometimes people are like, oh, I can't sleep, and then I send them one of my YouTube videos and they're like, I don't have time to look at that. Can't you just tell me? I'm like, that's why I made the video. But now, you know, when I have time, like Dana and Anthony, you guys are awesome at that, because you have a podcast, you have your videos, you have stuff that you write. So like that's what our ultimate goal has to be, because that's how we're going to reach everybody, through the way that they can actually understand and learn. So I thought that was a super cool thing. And then just like when Jen was talking about mirroring, that is really important to remember, because that is a way to actually build trust with people. And so it's something that we do automatically. And she showed pictures in her presentation of how people will just be near each other and they'll do it automatically. And so that is a way to like build trust with people. And you can do that. And she's like, well, some people might think it's weird, but it just automatically happens. So it is a way for you to build trust with people. So that was actually just something to remember. Like, if you talk, like Jen was saying, someone who talks fast is gonna gravitate to someone that talks fast. And actually Jim Bob is very good at this. Like when we met him at Shannon's, he said that he does that. Like he will judge people and he'll see, oh, that person is a green, they're not going to be blue like me, and he won't get into their personal space or try to touch them because he can tell. So that's what you actually want to do to build more rapport with people. Someone who talks fast is going to be attracted to another person who talks fast, but if you're with a person that talks slow, then you slow your pace in order to mirror them and make them feel more comfortable. So those were a couple of the points that I got.
So I actually like those. Tashina, I sent in the chat if you could share those in the group later. But especially the one about mirroring, because I believe in that class, and Jennifer, you mentioned that too. People care about, are you more like me or less like me? And so the more that you can kind of mirror that person's quirks, or I don't want to say personality, but maybe their mannerisms. Like if someone folds their arms, the first thing that you start to do, you notice people start folding their arms, they immediately or eventually start to feel more comfortable with you. So then they may be able to open up a little bit more to be able to develop a relationship with you. So that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that out, Tashina.
Yeah.
You had something to add? Does anybody have any questions or anything else that they wanted to add?
Yeah, I'm glad you had those slides, because that one where it was showing the mirroring, where he was doing the same thing as them, but it wasn't like that noticeable unless you were looking for it or awkward. Like that was the thing. Like you don't just copy exactly what they do right when they do it, but it kind of happens naturally. I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, and isn't that interesting how it kind of happens like on a subconscious level? Like sometimes we may not even realize that we're doing it. That was so intentional. Well, thank you. Oh, thank you. You too, Jenny. Ha 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 ha. But yeah, so we may not even realize that we're doing it. But it's amazing how that sets yourself apart from other individuals, that mirroring.
So Leah's asking the question, do just visual people know? Everyone mirrors, and it is all of the aspects. So when we're talking about mirroring, it's your pace of speech, which would be auditory. It's whether you are not, how much you're in a person's personal space, which would be the kinesthetic, and it would be actually the visual aspect. So it's every single part of that you would be mirroring. And like one of the other quotes, and actually it was mentioned in I think Lindsay Teague Moreno's, is I like you, you like me, we're the same. And that's the way that you like close that gap of how you feel similar to someone else, because it's not necessarily, oh, we actually literally are the same, but you're building that trust and things of that nature. And I'm thinking about this in some of the other classes. I was just thinking about how the individual that I signed up when I was there in Utah, that was the Lyft driver, like we had conversations about, he was in IT, and we had conversations about certain things, and he heard me talk to Melissa about how I was worried about the orphan that signed up, and I got to contact her so that she knows that it's better to be a member instead of a customer. And one of the other things that I actually do just like, I've never thought about this, but I just do automatically, when I take Lyft or Uber or whatever, I sit in the front seat. And a lot of people don't do that. And by sitting in the front seat, like I get closer to that person, and it creates a certain amount of trust that they want to talk to me, because it's like, I'm no longer a business person. I want to chat with you. I'm more of the friend level. And like, that's why I was able to get 5 phone numbers of my Lyft drivers when I was there and sign someone up, because I automatically like got in a different space with those people than from a business relationship. I'm like, I want to get to know you by sitting in the front seat. And no one ever told me to do that. That's just what I do, because I'm an extroverted person, and I talk to the person on the airplane, and I do that in order to get in people's space, like to make friends. I try to make friends wherever I go. So that's part of it. So it's like, I mean, that person was not like me in the sense that, I mean, he was like a 60-year-old white dude, but I created a fair amount of trust by doing certain things. And then there were certain Lyft drivers that I didn't get their information because they didn't give me any feedback that lended to that. So if they weren't looking at me when I was talking, then I would look forward. Like I would, you know, if they're not giving me an indication that I can get in their space, then I don't get in their space. And that's what the mirroring part has to do with.
That is really interesting, Tashina, and it's something I had never thought about before. I probably would ask you to get into the back seat.
Right, I'd have been like, wait, why are you getting in the front seat? What are you doing?
I'm like, no, that's not how this works. Let's have a conversation from the back seat. But I get that. I get what you're saying, like from the aspect of that is not the norm for what most people do. So it allows you to kind of capitalize a little bit more on those individuals that feel comfortable with you being in the front seat with them. So let me ask you in that vein, like, and I don't know if we touched on this at all, like what do you do when you can automatically tell that a person does not feel comfortable with the way that you communicate with your style? I'm putting that out for everybody too, but go ahead, Tashina.
I mean, I feel like you just have to try to like back up. Like I can remember a distinct instant where with one of my Lyft drivers, I was trying to initiate conversation and I could see that he was not into the conversation. And so therefore, instead of like looking at him and continuing to converse, I pulled my body this way and looked straight forward and talked more to like Melissa. Like it, so you just have to, there's going to be times where you do that. And actually in the class that I went to with Marcella Von Harding, and a lot of this I actually studied, like I have a degree in marketing with international business and international marketing. And some of it is cultural based. Like you can actually, when it comes to like personal space and stuff, you can line it up with certain cultures, and language and touch goes with certain cultures. And so she pulled some people on stage to like visually show. And the people in my class, she pulled some Asian people, and I was like, oh, they have the widest amount of spatial distance. Like she's gonna make them super uncomfortable. She gets in their personal space. So like that's what you have to do. Like as soon as you see the sign of that, then you have to, that's where the mirroring comes in again. Like you see that you have invaded their personal space. You see that they dislike touch. You see that whatever, that's when you have to mirror, change your pace of talking in order to mirror them. And that's what can bring them back in.
Good point. So I kind of feel like it, I cannot allow personal space to be made. I kind of feel like in that term, you have to meet people where they're at. And so it does require you, Jenny, you mentioned that like sometimes we can't get in there and talk because that's going to like immediately kind of be off-putting for some people. But that's why the art of listening becomes so important, and the art of perception, of learning to read a person's body language, learning to read their face, their facial expressions, or even when you're out and about and looking for like, you know, you'll hear people talk about look for sharp individuals, look for certain types of individuals to interact with. Learning to be conscious of those things is really going to help, because it may be things that you haven't thought about before. But now that we're talking about it, I bet you next time you see somebody with slumped down eyebrows and and a sloped back forehead like I have, you're gonna start to think about what kind of person that individual may be.
Get to the point.
Give me the big picture.
So Carrie, you're asking me, do I do this consciously? I don't do it consciously because I actually have read a lot of books on body language, and I've studied cultural differences and the aspects of different cultures. And I actually am a non-touch person living in a touching culture by being in Spanish for 20 years where I had to like adapt and do it. And so I've learned to actually adapt and do and to mirror and to do a lot of that. And that's actually the reason why I appreciated this class, because like one of the things that Willie, one of our upline, was talking about, like we had when we were all together with him, and people were like, oh, Tashina signed up her Lyft driver and blah 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 blah, and he was like, but is that duplicatable? Like, I had to think about it, and I was like, technically it is, because the skills that I use to do that are duplicatable. Are you going to go diamond by only signing up Lyft drivers? No. But the skills that I use to be able to build trust and to build a relationship within that 10-minute span are skills that you can teach. And this class actually was teaching that skills. And because I've studied body language and done handwriting analysis and done some things, and I know those skills, it's actually something that I don't mentally consciously do. I might not be able to teach that to other people, but by having the book and now knowing that I do some of that stuff naturally, now I can teach it to people. And that's what I like super appreciated about that class.
And just to add to that, Tashina, because Carrie also made a good point. She said about stepping out of your comfort zone. Remember that, like, as you develop some of these skills, like at first it's going to be very, very uncomfortable. And you're going to have instances where you're like trying to talk to an individual and read their face, and they're going to look at you like, what are you doing? Because you're so focused on trying to figure out, like, I'm trying to figure out, are you a big picture type of person? You know, like it's just not going to be natural for you at first. But this is a skill that you develop over time. So whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, that really doesn't matter. Learning the art of conversation and reading a person is a skill that everybody can develop, and it will take time, and eventually it will become more natural for you. So don't feel like it might be embarrassing the first few times, but that's why I feel like I love the fact that Shannon talks a lot about when she does the 1090, like getting out and just talking to 10 people a day, especially if they're 10 strangers, because you may not necessarily run into them again, and it doesn't matter necessarily what they think. And you could walk away and they be like, that person was really, really crazy. That was a really awkward encounter. But the 1090 is designed so that you can get better at conversing with people. So, I mean, that would be a great way to try this as well. Like, as you're developing that skill, say, like, maybe commit to talking to a certain amount of people a day and try implementing some of these skills that we've talked about until it becomes natural for you. Go ahead, Jenny.
Carrie asked if I've implemented this yet, and I to be honest, which I'm always honest, I forgot about it. And so now that I've reviewed this book again and taught it, it's a lot more, or tried to teach it, it's a lot more in my mind. And so, yeah, I'm going to try to pay attention to that. And then, Tashina, I was just going to say, that's so awesome. Like, I wouldn't even have thought of sitting in the front seat with the Lyft driver, but how much more being at, like, that you want to talk with them and converse with them if you're sitting right next to them versus in the back seat. Like, I wouldn't even have thought about that, but it's such a good idea. Oh, and like when we were talking about learning the skills too, because a lot of times I feel like I can't do these things and can't, well, anyways, but like the part about charisma that I was talking about, she says you feel like people are either born charismatic or they're not, but she says that you can even learn that and be a better speaker and better at things. So I have to keep working on it. And this helps a lot, and you guys are awesome and encouraging. So I really appreciate that. Okay, I'm going to shut myself off now.
No problem. And so that's great to see. I mean, these are great, like getting to see everyone on the call and presenting, like you're developing some of those skills by doing those things as well. And we recognize that a lot of this is out of certain individuals' comfort zone. So this is a great practice session to get in the habit of doing those sorts of things. So anything else that anyone would like to add, or any other questions that they would like to put out there? Looks like Carrie turned on her video. She must be about to say something really enlightening. She's been saying stuff in the chat, but go ahead, Carrie.
Yeah, I'm better at the sideline stuff. Yeah, but I bet that was a good point you just made right there, because by Jenny teaching or transmitting this information that she learned she's going to learn it even more. So that's why these interactive calls are so great. Because, I mean, honestly, go back and watch the replay. There's not as much life to it as when you can interact. So all of you guys putting it into practice, well, all of us, you know, whatever the topic is, putting it into practice and sharing with others. So that's what makes these team calls so great, so helpful. So I appreciate all the points you brought out, Jenny. That was really nice. And Tashina, you scare me. And all the front seat.
I think
No,
she
but
just wants
obviously
to,
it's working. So
she may want to be able to see the murder weapon before they pull it out. Maybe that's why it's in the front seat.
I will add one more thing. Monica talked to our Uber driver, and tried to get him our contact information. Or, well, she gave him a card and she wrote down, and he used to live in Washington. So we were hoping he would like friend me on Facebook or something, but he hasn't as of yet. But she was awesome. And we talked to him. I mean, she did it. She talked to him. She gave him a card and everything. It was really awesome. So that was really great. She was really good at that. I need to get better at stepping out of my comfort zone and talking to people. I talk to people all the time at the bank, but it's like, you know, they're there because they need something from me. So
Okay, so Jenny, though, you hit on a really, really good point, though. So you talk to people at the bank, and this is not just directed at you, but this is across the board. So the ability is there, right?
yeah,
We do.
I just need to, yeah.
We
I
have
try to
real
talk to people in line and
conversations.
stuff. I'm always try to be friendly and smile. I like people, so I mean, but sometimes it's getting it to the like sharing something to connect with them again. I'm not as good at that.
So here's the other thing you said. You said that you're good at talking to people at work because they need something from you. Everyone needs. You get what I'm saying? Everyone needs something.
You're right. Yeah,
that we have.
totally. It's a great point. Yep.
So
They do. Yeah, you're right.
a lot of it will boil down to mindset and how we view these interactions with individuals, and this is the
set
very
yourself up
why
for that
we
one, Jenny.
say that again, Carrie.
I know.
You set
You set yourself up for that one, Jenny.
Oh yeah, I had to call her out on that one. But no,
Yeah,
think about
that
it.
was so funny. That was really. You're totally right. Yeah.
So think about that though. From that standpoint, we're used to having these interactions where we don't feel that pressure because we feel like this person needs something from me. And remember, the goal with like building a conscious rapport is so that you become the influencer in your circle and you become the person that people come to when they need something. So imagine if you have people within your circle, maybe they need to make some extra money, maybe they need oils, or they need one of over the 600 products that Young Living offers, and you're the influencer in their circle, and they come to you and they ask for your help. How much easier do you think it is to share with them what we have?
Oh yeah, I love when they ask me questions and then I'm responding to that. That's much easier for me than And people do ask me about oils now because they know. So, but they just want me to buy them for them.
Well, and a lot of people have, especially if you're on this call, recognize you've been consistent, you've been around for a while. Eventually, people start to see you as the authority. They start to see you as the authority when it comes to oils. They start to see you as the authority when it comes to health and wellness. And when you've built that rapport with an individual, you've taken the time and put in the effort, now it makes it a whole lot easier to share because you are the authority and they need what you have. So just something to think about.
And
Go ahead, Carrie.
basically, most of the work we're doing by the time we're, getting to have a discussion with them, it's follow-up anyway. We already know they're interested, curious, whatever. So they are coming to you because they need something or want to know, and which is they need information. So yeah, these are all really, really good points.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you guys were able to benefit that. So we're getting close to the tail end of the call. Before we do events, does anyone have anything lastly that they want to add or further develop. I feel like we did a really good job with that, and it was nice to have all that interaction this evening. Does anybody have anything else?
Hey, hey, so Tashina, are you gonna teach this class at the Silver Retreat? How to sign up your Uber driver?
No, we're just gonna share a little bit of what's going on, but like I said, I think it's not about who it is, it's about those skills, right? So just building that rapport and finding commonality to talk with that person, whether it is the person sitting, because Shannon Hudson here, she would talk about how she would sign up people when she was traveling on an airplane or something like that, and she never showed them the kit or anything, and I would think like, wow, how do you do that? It must be because you're a diamond, whatever, but it is building those skills over and over and practicing. It's building that trust, building that commonality, making that person like you, them understanding that you genuinely have an interest and that you're. So that's more what it's about, whether it's the person that you're traveling on a bus with or on an airplane with, or it's your Uber driver. That's the skills that we got to try to master.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you everyone for sharing those sentiments and your questions this evening. Thank you for interacting. Let's move on to events. Today is September 9th, almost the 10th. So let's talk about September events. Does anyone have anything that they would like to promote? Anything they have going on in September? We know that we have the rally coming up October 6th. Tashina, what's the name of that location again?
It's Chandler Park, and it's the Chandler Community Center rather in Lincoln Park, Michigan.
So we definitely want to be promoting for that as well. That's going to be a lot of fun and really going to have some great information for that. As far as future September events, does anyone have anything that they would like to promote?
Well, just adding on to that. So tomorrow night we're going to get back on Zoom with everybody that's planning for the rally. So we're going to be back same time, same channel at 8:30 tomorrow for all those that are.
I want to go with you guys.
Huh?
To the rally. I want to go to the rally with you guys. But I am going to ours here. I'm going to volunteer to help at it. So I'm excited about that.
Good. That'll be fun. We just got to get you gold. We got to get old so we can travel wherever we want and have rallies together.
Got to get executive and then silver and then gold. So, yeah.
So Carrie says she has a vendor event the first Friday and Saturday in October leading into the rally and invites. Is that for everyone to come on down? Carrie, are you putting us up?
Oh, I got, one extra bed, but my vendor event's 2 hours away. So
Okay.
Sure, come on down. We'll all go to there's a big tour of the farm on the 29th of September. There's a big group going, so open season. Everybody's welcome.
Okay. And then I know there's a few online classes happening as well. Tashina, you have an online class coming up, right?
So the first online class is on the 14th, and that's Karen's class that she opened up as a public class, I believe, to the group. And it's just an intro to oils class. And then I just have a Spanish online class on the 25th for the seedlings line, basically. And then we scheduled the monthly, because we have a lot of stuff coming up with the rally, and then with Shannon's November event, and then with Anthony and I speaking at the Fall Oily Fest. Like, there's too many events to try to have bi-monthly team meetings, team educational things. So we're just going to do monthly through the end of the year. So we have that one scheduled for September 18th. And I couldn't get the Rusty Bucket, so we'll be back in Southfield for that one. And that's the one that we're planning to do. Because I really wanted, Dana had brought that good information from the people that were Diamonds about topics that actually people love to come to. So I wanted to try some of those topics. So that's what I've thrown in the calendar for September, October, and November. So the first one that we're going to do is that his, products for him, products for her, and products in the bedroom, and try to get all the men there. And whoever brings the most amount of males, I will be giving away a Shutron body wash to. So that's September 18th. And then in October, we'll do the copycat diffuser recipes. And then in November, a make and take.
Does that include if men bring a bunch of males?
I don't care who brings the males. I just want to make sure there's like 50-50 there for once, instead of like, I tried to invite males to my spa party today, and I invited 2 and 1 canceled and only 1 showed up. So whoever brings the most, if you bring like more than 1 male, whoever, you get a free body wash. So
Okay, fair enough. All right. Anything else that anyone would like to promote? Anything that we missed? All right. Sounds like we've covered it pretty well. Once again, thank you everyone for being on this evening. Hopefully you found some value in what we discussed this evening. I look forward to seeing everybody on next week's call. And don't forget, for tomorrow, for those planning the rally, we will still have that call as well. But till then, everyone stay healthy, stay well, and we'll see you guys next time. Everyone have a good night.
Night. Thanks, guys.